Welcome back to Country Wife Mommy Life. As you can see from the title of the video and from this little bundle in my hands, baby number 8 is here. And I thought I would just quickly share his birth story. I enjoy listening and watching birth stories on YouTube. They're very empowering and motivating and just wonderful to watch and listen to. So I thought I would share baby 8's birth story. He was due April 3rd, 2023, and the pregnancy went pretty well. Didn't have hardly any complications with that, and I went into labor. It's funny because I have a hard time knowing when I go into labor. You'd figure after having 7 babies that you would know, oh yes, this is labor, but it's just not true. You always second guess yourself, and I'm one of those people that second guess myself. But I also tend to have a lot of prodromal labor, which is just hours and hours of contractions, not painful, but just contractions that can be timeable, but they don't end up doing much. So I didn't have too much of that with him. I would have contractions, but they just didn't do anything. But it was not for weeks on end. There were a couple days here and there that I would start to time them, and then they would just fizzle out. But nothing serious, nothing painful, just noticeable. So I had been to my doctor's appointment the week before he was due, and I was not dilated at all, maybe about a centimeter. But that's pretty common for people who've had quite a few babies. So about a centimeter dilated, and that was about it. But nothing happening. The night of April 3rd, which was his due date, I was very tired, and I had felt kind of crampy, but nothing timeable, nothing serious. So in the early morning hours of April 4th, I woke up around midnight on April 4th, and I'd use the restroom, and I noticed that I was having some contractions, which again can be pretty common, if your bladder's full and that type of thing. So I made sure I emptied my bladder, went back to bed. Couldn't really get comfortable. I did fall back asleep, and I woke up around 1 o'clock. And I noticed that I was having a contraction. So again, I made sure I emptied my bladder, and was trying to figure out whether they were still coming or not. So I was quite crampy, and decided to go ahead and wake up my husband. I woke him up about 1:17, and we decided that we were just going to head to the hospital. The hospital for us is about an hour drive, and I have been known in the past to have very, very quick labors, and it can happen very quickly. So I can share some other birth stories if that is interesting to enough people. But I had one labor and delivery that was so fast, we did not make it to the hospital. The babies were born with my twins, actually. They were born at home. So we did not make it to the hospital. So that has always been a big concern, is to make sure that we leave in time to get to the hospital. I don't want to have a baby in the car. That is not my cup of tea. I'll have them at home, and I'll have them at the hospital, but not in the car. So I'd called a friend of mine, and she came over to be with the kids. So we left for the hospital. Up to this point, I had not timed any contractions, because I was just trying to get things in place so that I could leave the house. So on the car ride there, I believe that I timed 5 to 6 contractions. They started out at about 8-ish minutes apart, and in the hour drive from our house to the hospital, they went from 8 minutes all the way down to 2 minutes. So I had 5 or 6 contractions in that amount of time, and it's not something like that. So we got to the hospital and they offered me a wheelchair, and I did not want to sit down. I would not sit. So I walked up to labor and delivery. We signed into the hospital around 2. I think it was before 2:45. So I signed my signature in at the hospital around 2:40, 2:45. Got to the room and they checked me. I was about 5 centimeters dilated, and for whatever reason, I just had in my head, I want an epidural this time. I've had all my babies naturally, except for my oldest. I had an epidural with him. But for all the other ones, they have been completely unmedicated, and that's just my preference, and that's how I labor and deliver. But I had it in my head this time, I want an epidural. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through it. I want nothing to do with any of it this time. So I knew that it could take a while. So as soon as I got in the room, I said, I want an epidural. I want it as soon as we can, because I don't want to do this time. My headspace was just really weird. I don't even know really what I was thinking. I didn't feel in a good headspace. I didn't feel like I had control of anything. I was not in a great deal of pain. I was uncomfortable, but I was not in a great deal of pain. But I just decided I don't want to do this. So I wanted an epidural. You gonna fall asleep? So they started to do, the IV and, try to get all that taken care of. And then all of a sudden, I just felt the urge to bear down. So I started pushing. And as soon as I felt that urge to push, my headspace cleared. I'm like, okay, we're going to be done in 5 minutes. Okay. So I finally had a good grip on things. I recognized exactly where I was and realized that I had walked into the hospital in transition, and this baby was just ready to come. So I went from 5 to 10 very quickly, and he was born at 3:18 in the morning. So about a half an hour after I got to the hospital. They didn't even have the IV in yet because I couldn't lay down, I couldn't do anything. So they were struggling to get the IV in. The doctor didn't even make it. They had called her, but she was a good 15-20 minutes away. So she completely missed the birth. So our wonderful nurse got to catch the baby, and he was born at 3:18 on April 4th. He weighed 8 pounds, 12 ounces, and he was 21¼ inches long, and just the bundle of perfection and the bundle of health. So we are very, very thrilled to have baby number 8 with us. And yeah, he's been a wonderful baby. At the time I'm filming this, he is about 6 weeks old, and he's a big chunky baby. He's starting to smile and laugh, and he just brings us so much joy, and we are absolutely thrilled. Yeah. So he'll start to talk here soon, but I wanted to share that he is finally here, and we are so incredibly thankful and blessed and just so in love. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have a birth story that you would love to share with me, leave that in the comment down below. Like I said, I love to hear birth stories. I love to read them. I love the positivity that comes from sharing your birth story. And sometimes you can have negative things that do happen, but I wanted to put out there my voice of the positive birth story that I have of baby number 8. So take care, friends, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.